Yeah, but when they just want to something like the cemetery, get own the property, then they can look it up later.
As long as something's
Building
official.
other homes or whatever, and then they can split up the frontage from there. So it's like, well, that's kind of,
So the sidewalk requirements,
You know what? You can have that one, because Joe's not here.
presently,
That would be the first time.
yeah. Enforced.
if it's a single,
He didn't leave it.
if it's a multiple.
Oh, good, yourself. How you doing, Mario?
Back in the old days, you just did it. It's one big lot.
No, the thing is, I remembered it.
I'm doing well, how are you?
Colleen.
Tomorrow is my running around day. I had to do stuff, but it was nicer out here.
I laugh.
Oh,
Great. Well, there's always one thing I do. I will. Thank you for reminding me.
I could be wrong about it.
Because I even went
Joe's not here.
into the site last week.
Nobody didn't pick on
It's easy to get along with the number of
Potter.
everybody
I can
knows.
imagine like
No,
you. Do our best.
It's probably a little dog.
it's Potter.
If I had to change my middle name, it would be amenable.
No,
Picks up like,
and they used to, but then you get the guys that go in there and
I was supposed to go last week, but
buy it dry
they go
kind of
down
thing.
my street.
Well, if this isn't on the plan.
so they should be shipping everybody's their landscape.
Four houses on
We've done in the past.
actually see with more verbiage.
Well,
Oh, wow.
I'll get it.
I'm gonna go down there.
And then I get it for down.
I'm gonna go down there.
When I saw you,
oh, I'm sorry, the
That-
school resource.
that
I'm
gives
thinking
my
human
wife
relations.
Hey, that's okay if you throw that over.
Here, I'll put it right in there.
get it verbiage,
Thank you, miss.
She said to me 2 weeks ago, she goes, I'm gonna get you something. I was like,
The numbers, yeah, they're on towards the
you have
back.
to take me to Gettysburg to get it. And she goes, you can pick it
The
out.
other guy bought that lot back, now he wants to have it.
It's like an overload.
Off the top, yeah.
So I got it.
Keep that right.
It was great, so I gotta figure out how I'm gonna use that. It's in the packet.
Okay, the regular public meeting of the Board of Commissioners of Whitehall Township will come to order. After the Pledge of Allegiance, we'll have a moment of silence for our troops serving home and abroad. Thank you. Take a motion to approve the minutes of the regular public meeting of June 11th, 2018.
Mr. President,
Yes, oh, sorry.
we're gonna have the reading.
Thank you. Before I begin, Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and to review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to the opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township in its land use decisions does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. Now, I will take a motion to approve the minutes of the regular public meeting, June 11th, 2018. I'm gonna do it, courtesy.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, poll the board.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniger, aye. Commissioner Ginder,
Yes,
and President Howard.
Yes.
Okay. Vote 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Just before we start the courtesy of the floor, I would like to announce that we finally have a professional recording system in here, so you'll be able to see these proceedings on the web, we have a YouTube channel and also on the township website. So just make that announcement before people get up to speak.
Okay. Lorianne Fano.
Hi, my name's Lorianne Fanel. I live at 3107 North 3rd Street. I know
Can you speak up a little?
I'm sorry, I have a cold,
Okay,
and I'm a very...
Tilt up the microphone.
My name's Lorianne Fanel. I live at 3107 North 3rd Street in Whitehall. I know I'm a familiar face to all of you here today. But I am here to bring about complaints that would have happened to my family in the past 3 days. One, there was a truck that threw fireworks to 2 houses north of me. When it exploded, part of it detonated alongside my home. I was lucky that I didn't have damage to my home, but it startled my family. And I am standing here with embarrassment to tell you that I suffer with PTSD. And I am scared for my family. Now, I understand it's under investigation, and I got a lot of tips when I went on social media to get help to figure out who it was. And that's all I could say. However, last night, about 9:30, I had to call police because I had fireworks, well, fire snappers, the white ones, being thrown at my vehicle where I live by my neighbors, who were also the alleged, I guess, the initial from the event on 7/3 that was heard and seen. Officer Jordan responded to my home, and he wasn't very nice. He was cocky. I told him I wanted his supervisor there. He told me he wasn't calling his supervisor. When I asked him who his supervisor was, he refused to tell me, and he was not giving it to me. I had an ambulance come out for me yesterday because of the fact of what is going on near me, and I'm sick of it. Nobody should be having fireworks thrown at their property or their cars. Does that make sense to anybody?
Sounds perfectly reasonable to
Do
me.
you want fireworks thrown at your home? Do you want fireworks detonating alongside your home that can hurt your children or your family?
Well, I will say this, I mentioned it last week at our regular township meeting on Wednesday at our legal and legislative meeting. We're gonna be discussing the fireworks issues. As everyone knows, we've legalized fireworks, and apparently that means that we have 8 straight nights of fireworks around the holidays. We shoot them off at 12:50 a.m., as was happening around my house. I think it's ridiculous. We already have in our ordinances now, nobody should be setting them off with 150 feet within a, do you want to speak about that, Chief?
Before I go and let him speak,
Okay.
this is unacceptable, and I know you guys are trying everything you can to try to get this township safe. But what I observed and what I've heard, that was just totally unremarkable. And the alleged suspect, I have to use alleged because nobody can confirm it with me if it is who was brought to my attention who it was.
Right.
And I am very saddened if it's true that if it was part of someone of this township that's supposed to protect our township and keep us safe, it's saddening. Am I right?
Absolutely,
If it's true.
if that's the case.
Now, why would a police officer refuse to tell me who the on-duty supervisor was? I would think if I asked for a supervisor to come out so I can talk to them, I should be able to have that supervisor come out. I should not be told I'm not telling you who my supervisor is. I shouldn't have to call the Lehigh County Comm Center. Can you tell me who the on-duty shift supervisor is? Because that's exactly what I had to do last night, and it's all recorded. I had to call the comm center back to find out that it was Sergeant Curio on last night because your officer was just sworn in not that long ago telling me he's refusing to give me the supervisor's name who's on duty. I would think, as commissioners, do you think that's wrong? I think we have the right to know who our police supervisors are.
Would you like to speak on this, Chief, or?
Which one do you want to go first?
We'll deal with you first, Chief Marks. Sorry, Chief Nelson.
I'm asking you, do Do the officers have the right to deny a citizen of the supervisor
Let
on
me
duty?
address the board, please.
Sure.
So Officer Jordan was called. This isn't the place and time to discuss these matters to begin with. This is a realm for other matters for the board. This isn't a place for personal complaints. But we're addressing it to the best that I can with the knowledge that I have of what happened. Officer Jordan responded to the address. Ms. Fainal immediately requested that a supervisor come to this address. Officer Jordan, being one of the newer officers does not want to automatically defer to his supervisor. He wants to handle what the issues are, which he did effectively. He asked for a video, which Ms. Fainal has said she would produce at a later time. No problems. That's about as simple as it gets.
No, he adamantly refused to tell me who the supervisor was. I did ask for the supervisor to come out because of the situation that's going on with my family and the neighborhood, okay? I did want a senior officer there, and I did want a supervisor there because I have the right to ask for one. I shouldn't be told no. I mean, so you're going to sit there and tell everybody, you know what, just because the new guy doesn't want to ask for a supervisor to come out, you're going to tell everybody no? I don't think that's fair. All I wanted was a supervisor to come out and talk to me with that guy. I knew he was new. I told him that I knew he was new. I just wanted to summon him to come out and talk to me, and I was very upset. And he made the situation worse by not having a supervisor coming out, because it made me more upset that a police officer is denying me the supervisor to come out to talk to me. I don't think that's right, and it should be addressed. No officer should deny if a citizen requests that a supervisor come out to speak to you, to come talk. I think that's important to have a dialogue, especially with the situation that it is disgusting. And I'm sorry I'm bringing it up, but you know what? I'm at a somber point now where I am downright sick of where I live. Thank you.
Yep. Chief Nelson.
The fireworks law state that 150 feet of any occupants are not allowed to fire off any fireworks. They cannot be under any influences of alcohol or tobacco, and they cannot fire any fireworks from vehicles, and they cannot fire any fireworks without having written permission from, or actually consent from any property owners if they're lighting them on that property owner's property. They also cannot put them on any type of private ways, government-owned sections or anything like that. It cannot be done. That's what the law states. Unfortunately, we seem to be putting out there that it's free reign for fireworks, but nobody seems to be putting out that these are the laws and this is what it is. So for the most part, any place in Whitehall, you cannot light them off. We have 150 feet of homes. If you put it out in the middle of the street, number one, that's public right away, you can't light it. 150 feet from a house, can't light it. So during the fireworks up in Cement, and I went to a few houses and informed them of it, and they were very cooperative and took care of it. But unfortunately, we didn't get great press coverage putting that out to everybody else, and we'll be working with that in legal and legislative. So.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Yep.
Chief, I'm sorry, real quick. In that ordinance, is there a time period where they
There is no
can't be
time
shut off?
period. That's something I was going to bring up with legal and legislative and stuff like that, so we can work
Okay.
on that as well.
I think we can all agree that 12:50 a.m. is not the appropriate time to be shooting off fireworks.
I would agree with you.
Anybody else have a problem with that? All right, great. Thank you.
That's all.
Okay.
Written in for courtesy.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else?
Anyone else for courtesy of floor? Moving on, public hearing and voting on ordinances, bill number 162018. An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the replacement of the cement and playground community building roof for the Recreation Bureau of the Township of Whitehall, bid number 18-20, in accordance with the section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance.
She doesn't
Yeah.
have down the stuff.
We're not voting on this one tonight, are we? Or are we?
I think
Yeah, we are, because it's, okay. Well, then I will take a motion.
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye, and President Hauer.
Yes.
Okay, bill passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3018, a resolution for sewage facilities plan revision for the new land development of DVS Apartments, Whitehall Township and Copley Borough, located at 250 North Second Street, Lehigh County, index number 1892-16. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
President Howard.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3019, a resolution approving the retirement of the commencement of monthly pension benefits to former police officer Andrew Artem. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3020, resolution conditionally approving the major subdivision plan of 3030 South Third Street, located at 3030 South Third Street, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, index number 1917-18. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, would you please poll the board?
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
President Howard.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3021, a resolution conditionally approving the minor subdivision plan of Arlington Cemetery located at 3101 MacArthur Road, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, index number 1915-18. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board?
This is the parcel that part of it had a former quarry on it, on the west side of the cemetery. That's it.
No, this is on the east side of the cemetery.
East side.
East
Yes,
side,
you're right.
yes.
East side.
Any other questions? Any questions or comments from the floor? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
President Howard.
Yes.
Resolution passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve a 6-month extension of the residency requirement for Officer Delp as per his letter dated May 25th, 2018. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve the reappointment of Michael Long to serve on the Plumbers Examining Board, term expiring April 30th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Any questions from the floor? Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Dutt,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Motion to approve the School Resource Officer Agreement.
I'd like to make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board?
Just a quick update. Attorney Eaton and his office has reviewed and revised the agreement. The agreement was accepted in total by the school district solicitor. The only change they made was where it referenced school code. They also wanted added and district policy. So wherever it references the school code, it also references district policy, which was totally acceptable.
Will this officer be in place at the beginning of the school year?
What's that?
Will the officer be in place at the beginning of the school year?
Right, yeah.
Great, excellent.
I do have one question. When we're looking at the cost of the SRO program, we had made a request that if the school district does receive some sort of grant funding, that grant funding is applied to the total cost.
Right.
And
And
it's-
they are seeking a $50,000 grant right now. I know Chief Marks has been working with Superintendent
Hackett.
to try and get
Yeah.
Hackett, thinking Super District Lori, to work on that, the submission of that grant, which would then offset each of our costs by
It
25,000.
doesn't really say that here?
Huh?
Does it say that in this agreement?
No, because we're not gonna know if we're successful with the agreement. But that was in the meeting minutes, that, you guys are on record as stating that. And the school district totally assumed that, and, because
I would feel better if it was in the actual agreement, but, because all it says is the parties agree to each pay 50% of the cost of the SRO program. So, it doesn't say
Well, it
anything
also
about
allows
offset.
us to opt out with
Yeah.
60 days' notice,
I
too.
did see that too, and I thought, so if we don't get it, then.
No, and I did, when I had learned that, when Chief Marks was working with Superintendent Hackett, that was my first question, well, don't tell, we just agreed to this. She said, well, no, our total thing was, well, you said the total cost would be this, we're subtracting, if we get the grant, the 50,000 off, and we'll each pay that.
Right, okay.
So, they were totally, upright and
Okay.
acceptable to, what the board had mandated before.
All right. My only question is not in the agreement, and I wish it was.
I do see the State Representative Jeannie McNeil's here too, and I do know that the state did appropriate more money for that grant program this year, and that's great for the whole Commonwealth, so appreciate that.
Any other questions? Any questions from the floor? Hearing none. Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren.
Aye.
Commissioner Clary.
Aye.
Commissioner Swanager, aye. Commissioner Ginder.
Yes.
Commissioner Dutt.
Yes.
And President Hauer.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
We'll move on to Board of Commissioners reports. Commissioner Dutt?
Thank you. Just a couple things real quick. Starting on Wednesday, we're having Movie Wednesdays at the Senior Center in Whitehall. It's going to be the 11th, the 18th of July, and the 11th and 18th of August. They're Wednesdays and 4 successive movies. The only thing I request is from the township is if we could borrow the popcorn machine that we have here, so we can have popcorn at these.
You have to
these
supply your own butter.
Oh, we could do that. So those are starting at 1 o'clock at the Senior Center on Wednesdays. Second thing, we are setting up a historic tour of the Thomas Iron Works neighborhood in Hackendakwa on Saturday, October 27th from 11 to 4. So we're inviting the public to come out. We're going to have tour guides. We're going to have a bus to take people around that can't walk. We're going to have a press conference, and we're just going to talk about the history of Hackendakwa and those things to get the public aware of the historical significance that that neighborhood had, not only locally but nationally, especially in the Civil War. So we're going to do that, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Ginder?
I have nothing.
Commissioner Swanager?
Nothing?
Commissioner Clary?
Just one thing, in regards to the school resource officer, I'm very excited that was approved tonight. I know it's been a long road to get there.
I'll get that.
As a school employee and a teacher at the middle school in particular, I think it's a really good thing, and I'm really happy that we were able to come to an agreement with that. So, good stuff.
Commissioner Warren?
Jack, I know a couple months ago, we talked about the outstanding trash fees, as Portnoy made a lot of headway in covering a
They
lot of
actually
stuff.
have, we're getting like somewhere, anywhere between like $14,000 to $16,000 a week for collections of delinquent garbage. It's been real successful.
Right.
And they're making a lot of money too. And plus, you know, we're getting all of the money that we had to outlay, we get that back when they pay the additional fees, so.
Well, we want everybody to pay their
Yeah.
fair share, not more than what they have to, but
Right,
certainly what you use.
absolutely.
Anything else?
I guess while I see Jeannie McNeil here, last week, Mick was invited, we invite our state legislators to come and hear some concerns about the quarry. And it was short notice, and Mick D did come. And, some commissioners were really frustrated with the DEP, and if it came off that we were directing our frustrations at the state representative staff, that was not intended, so.
It was not our intent.
And we appreciate that Mick did come on short notice. He was, I guess the Mako team had a conflict and wasn't able to make it, so thank you, Jeannie.
Anything else? Jeannie, would you like to come and say a few words, or? Thank you.
Sure, I'm planning to stop at every township in my district, so I started here. So.
It is great to see you. And we won't yell at you.
Okay, that's all right. I have broad shoulders. I've gotten yelled at, but not a whole lot. I just want to thank you for all you do. I want to let you know I am here for all the needs of all of Whitehall, not just my district, which is half of Whitehall. I was at the meeting today with Mayor Herrickle, and I actually recorded the whole thing live on Facebook. So if anybody does want to see it, it's on there. I haven't seen if it's legible or not, but I was front row. But any needs you need, I am here for you. And just reach out to me or my staff, whether you live in my district or not. And it's Whitehall Township is one township. So that's all. Thank you.
Where do you think we can get with this?
With
this DEP problem and
Well,
federal?
apparently
You think
it's
we're
more an EPA
wasting
thing.
time?
No, I honestly think, as I told Mayor Herrickle today, I'm pretty thick-headed and stubborn, and I approached the owner of Copley Aggregates today and asked for a tour. And he looked at me and he's, yeah, okay. I said, Mayor Herrickle, Representative Mako and I would like to take a tour. So he said he is planning to reach out to me with some dates, and if he doesn't, I'll be calling, and if he doesn't, I'll be calling again and again, and I won't stop until we get a tour and find out what's going there. I have been talking with the EPA. I've been meeting several times with DEP, and I have contacts with a company that does environmental things, and he's been talking to me, not charging me so far. So I have been working on this since that night of everything compounded and became known to everybody. Representative Mako is working on legislation about letting everyone know sooner, and I'll be jumping on with that. They're finalizing all the details, so hopefully that will help, and hopefully we'll get some answers. And like I said, I'm not going to stop. This is your town just like it's my town, and we'll all work together.
Are there any answers from DEP out in Harrisburg as to why they accept things over the limit that the EPA allows? How could this, can anybody tell the history of how this was allowed?
EPA looks at the broader picture of like a whole load, and DEP looks like a smaller sample. So sometimes that could be exactly the same anyhow, but it depends on what part of what you get it from. What we need to do is get some legislation to make it more even, and also I'd prefer if this stuff isn't good enough for New York and New Jersey, darn should it be good enough for us, honestly.
Great
and
point,
we need to get some legislation to make this happen and make ourselves at least as strong as the other states, because we don't want their garbage. We have enough of our own, and we don't want their toxic garbage. Any other questions or thoughts? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have nothing further on that. Mayor?
As Representative or Legislator McNeil noted, there was a meeting today at the Wind Gap Middle School, having to do with regulation of fill. And I was asked to sit on a committee or a group, a panel that would discuss that as it pertains to local municipalities. First thing I'll tell you is I did see that Jeannie was recording everything, so I made sure I combed my hair before I started, and I'm hoping it turned out well. The meeting was interesting because we were hearing mostly from people who were opposed to the current regulations. We did have representatives from the industry there who, among others, included Brian Hilliard, who is the manager up at the site. He indicated that there is the most stringent regulations that can possibly be done, that they're doing everything they can to guarantee that this is going to be a successful program. And I noticed that there were some inconsistencies with what we had heard when we were sitting for a meeting. So when I presented my information today, I'll just give you some of the flavor before we ended this. I had prepared remarks. I sent them off to them last week. But after listening to what I'd heard there, near the conclusion of my presentation, I said, we have lost all confidence in Copley Aggregate's ability to maintain a safe facility free of carcinogens, DEP's ability to control the fill placed in Copley Aggregate site, the testing protocols prior to the fill being placed on site. Our citizens are scared for their health and safety, and they're concerned that that has been compromised. I said our solicitor has been told by DEP staff, don't call. We don't want to talk to you since you're suing us. I understand that PA is the only state not to accept EPA standards for PCBs. Why? And I concluded by saying the arrogance of Copley Aggregates has created an aura of fear, distrust, and concern that DEP has failed in the mission to control the location of dangerous chemicals in our community. There were two other communities represented there, and we have discussed after that meeting a mutual desire to get together to compare notes and perhaps down the road look at pooling resources in hiring of any environmental attorney that might want to take action against them again. So we'll see where that goes.
That's it?
Unless you have something else you want me to talk about.
It's up to you.
Okay.
All right, cool. Treasurer's report.
Okay, we're actively collecting school taxes and business privilege tax right now. We've had a decent turnover of business privilege, and as always, our township's in good financial shape.
Thank you. We will have a brief executive session after this, discussing the personnel matter. And now I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, everyone.
What's up, Joe?
I did.
In the Algonquin language that was spoke here before the white man came,